Paparigani familia angu, mambo jumbo, karibu, and I want to ask you, did you feel anything strange about the videos that I posted? Yesterday was a very strange day. I filmed videos 3 times and was unable to post any of them. The system kept giving me headaches. So eventually, by accident, the system combined a few videos, and I ended up posting those, and I try to post new videos every day, but sometimes I have equipment problems, so, sorry about that. Folks, once again, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe. I would like to be able to move beyond the point where I am right now. And I'm trying not to judge what happens on my channel compared to anybody else. I probably have been on YouTube a lot longer than some of you, but I have had all kinds of problems over the time that I've been on, and there have been long period of time, sometimes years, that I haven't even messed around with YouTube. So now I'm dedicating myself to it, and I'm seeing good results, but please help me out. Please help. Oh, by the way, my name is Eli-Ben-Eli. Please help your Babu Eli-Ben-Eli to continue to grow and help my channel to prosper by subscribing to it if you haven't done so far. So today I wanted to talk about a couple of things before I forget. One of them is, obviously the thriller at the Villa Medellin, the thriller at the villa that is in the capital or the headquarters of the Navajo Kingdom, which I'm calling the New Manila, is winding down. And of course, the ugly side of the character of Mara, and the person who do not ask me why, but Black Beauty has decided that Rocio should actually be called Salvador. She hasn't come up with a reason. She just says that Rocio seems to be someone who should be called Salvador. Salvador means savior. Salvador means savior in Spanish, and I think maybe Italian and Portuguese too. It means savior. And to a certain extent, the thing that saved Mara from looking like a complete fool was that Rocio showed up. Mara has a reputation as a ladies' man to protect. Imagine what would have happened if Rocio had not shown up and not participated. And I look at Rocio and I think that some things are obvious. A woman who feels committed to a particular man tries to dress in a way that sends the message to other men that she is not available. But when a woman is walking around with her belly showing and most of her chest showing, and she's sending a signal. And my suspicion is that just like the lovely Paulina from Poland, who some of us called Paulo, ended up with what was his name? Ended up with Marwa's friend as opposed to with Marwa. I have a suspicion that given enough time, Salvador would end up getting involved with somebody else in Kenya. Why? The answer is kind of simple. I was looking at Fellow the Boy, one of the videos of Fellow the Boy, in which he was just randomly talking, and one of the handymen, they were painting, and one of the handymen is standing there covered in paint, and he's just standing very casually. And I was looking at him, and I had to laugh, and I said to myself, some of these Kenyans look like fashion models without even trying. The man looked, even in clothes that were covered in paint and everything, the man looked elegant, the way that he was standing. Okay, and the problem with somebody like Marwa is that sometimes he overdoes it. Sometimes what is it that he called it, is kind of like part of his brand to have that thing on his head that looks like a giant spider that has crawled on his head and died or whatever. A lot of these other men, they're tall, they're skinny, they're well groomed, their hair is cut, and a lot of those men, it's like European women like men with those looks. And I'm surprised that there hasn't been a crisis of one of those men trying to get next to her. And if it hasn't happened yet, I promise you, if she hangs around those kind of people long enough, it probably will. It probably will. There's something so incredibly fussy and controlling about Marwa, and I happen to know that women don't like men to behave that way with them. Okay, and I have a feeling that it may not happen exactly on the 18th. It may, there may be a few more days, but at some point the fantasy is gonna be over. Salvador is gonna pack up her bags, gonna take all of the gifts that this woman showed up empty-handed at the Thrilla Villa. She will probably leave with a lot of clothing, a lot of gifts and everything. And maybe for a period of time she and Marwa will communicate. But, Marwa doesn't seem to have any luck with women. Everything that I see tells me that this woman is about to dump him and go her own way. And by the way, let me tell you something about how I make videos. Okay? There was a time when I was a lawyer. And when you're a lawyer, the rules of civil procedure and the rules of evidentiary laws are very, very, very strict, and you have to meet these stringent guidelines in order to get evidence admitted, and and you have to adhere to certain procedures. None of that applies in this. None of that applies. I mean, I know that there are people on Facebook that take a lot of pride in how they bring receipts. Most of the so-called receipts that people bring here are inadmissible as evidence. Why? Because they involve the repetition of hearsay. Okay, so the point that I'm making is this. This is Grandpa Eli, Babu Eli, talking to you about what I have seen, what I perceive, what I understand, what I believe. I am not in a court of law. I am not adhering to evidentiary standards that would be applicable in a court of law. And you're not a lawyer. You're not doing the same thing. So all of this stuff about, I bring receipts and well, good for you. Okay, but the point is this. Credibility has nothing to do with some artificially created standard that comes from where exactly? Journalism? Not so. Journalism has its own stringent standards of what is considered acceptable proof, acceptable evidence, or whatever. The point is that, in my humble opinion, and I hope I offend no one by what I am about to say, all of us need to collectively get off our high horses, okay? There is no guidebook or anything else that tells us that, you have to adhere to this evidentiary standards, or what you're saying is not acceptable. We're talking. Babu Eli is talking to you. Please listen to what I'm saying. Please measure it against what your inner voice is telling you about the fact that you are perceiving. And ask yourself, does it make any sense? If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But anyway, at the end of as the party winds down, only the true faithful are hanging around. Only the true faithful are trying to put a good face on everything. Why are they doing it? Are they doing it out of fear, or are they doing it out of love? You know, the sadness that I feel in watching all of these videos, and I'm like a lot of other people. I'm like Black Beauty, and I just have got a lot of these videos have become repetitive, and quite honestly, they've become boring. How many times can you watch Marwa receiving gifts and the villagers acting crazy, you know, about getting something for free, you know, which I understand. These are poor folks. You know, how much of that can a person watch? It gets tiresome, you know, but at the end of the day, there are a handful of people that were there because they love Marwa. And that's the remarkable thing about this whole story of Marwa and his party and everything. He, Dean Wango, Davy, Congrats Mom, all of them may not show it, but they have a disrespect for the people of that village. They just don't like him that much. And in the meantime, the people of that village have such a high level of love for them. They were supportive, even though Marwa was not being very kind in a lot of ways. And you want to know something? There's a part of me that wants to believe that somebody out of all of that community of people started saying, the hell with this. And yeah, they took some oils and they took whatever. In reality, those people didn't take anything. A lot of food was being cooked. A lot of oil was being used. I don't believe that Steve took a phone. Okay, he may have been lied on by people who wanted to drag his name through the mud. You know, but if there's anything that can be taken away from having watched the videos of this party, is there are people in that community that have a lot of love for Marwa, whether he deserves it or not. And the alternative that I'm seeing is something that I'm finding to be very fascinating. Mama Ann and her family, you know, and I'm not jumping from subject to subject. It's connected to what I'm saying. Mama Ann and her family have been exploited by Marwa, Mayugano, and a lot of those other people in so many ways. They have taken advantage of the fact that the father is a drunkard, and apparently they have bought land from him at a point at which he was drunk, and they got it on very good terms, and they have taken advantage of that family. I don't know what was done to Anne by Coco Mama and everything, but and I'm not saying anything that you cannot find out by looking at videos. Coco Mama is somebody who admitted that she has practiced a certain kind of lifestyle with other women. She's admitted that she's done that in the past. And there was something very unusual about the way that she kept acting toward Anne. Okay, that family has been exploited and taken advantage of in so many ways. Marwa used her to, Marwa used Mama Ann as an object to help solicit charitable donations for a period of time. He's used that entire family. Okay, and then he came up with this ridiculous porch store for them that I predicted was going to collapse. I predicted that in the end that family was going to eat all of those groceries, and that would be the end of that business. You know, Marwa exploited that family. The person who people started recognizing from a distance as having some sort of an ethical set of values that they could rely on was Fellow the Boy. And so they paid him, I believe they paid him to dig the well. I may be wrong about that, but they paid him to get them a rain catchment barrel, and people started connecting with Fellow. They liked what they saw, and Marwa libeled and slandered Fellow the boy by accusing him of being a scammer without any proof. What Marwa was doing was simply trying to eliminate somebody who was gonna be, who has become something of a rival to Marwa, and when all else failed, the Marwa cult was instructed to tell Fellow the boy not to come back around Mama Ann's property or near them. But Mama Ann and her family, Baraka got a certain amount of help from Fellow. It's like the people of that village. I was talking about previously about love and people being willing to do something out of love. I don't think that they ever forgot Fellow the boy. Okay, and Mama Ann's oldest daughter recently has started a channel, and that channel has gone from like 30 people, maybe even less than that, to 1,300 people in a matter of a few days. How did that happen? She went to Fellow the boy, and he shouted her out and, helped her get her channel started, and now the channel is doing brilliantly. And Mama Ann and the daughter and the oldest son, Baraka, they all went to Fellow the boy's compound and gifted him some cement. And even though Marwa's cult, I suspect mostly Mayugano and some of those other people, have tried to intimidate Fellow the boy from having any contact with that family. Fellow, they have reached out to him. And I remember when Modesta Lifestyle attempted to get Fellow the boy to go over there and help them start a channel, and he didn't want to do it. And, you have to understand the position that Fellow the boy is in. He's in a village where he was taken in, and he was raised by the people of that village, but he's not really of that village. Okay, and Fellow the boy knows when to fall back. And when you're dealing with somebody who behaves like Mayugano behaves, maybe Fellow the boy didn't want to take any chances. Maybe he knew that the better part of valor was discretion, and he stayed away. But those people are reaching out to him. And he's surrounded by a small circle of loyal friends that is growing. Zach Discoveries, Otenga, Joint Hands, Green Life Trees, as well as Joseph the Mason. There's a crew of people who work for Fellow the boy, and they are very loyal to him, very hardworking, very professional, and he makes sure that he pays them. These are not people that are being scammed into working for nothing, and even though these people gifted Fellow some cement, Fellow didn't ask him, there was no requirement that they do that. Fellow is willing to help people without holding out his hand and expecting them to do something for him before he helps them. The difference in between Fellow the boy and Marwa is that Fellow the boy has a giving nature. Maybe it's the circumstances of life that have shaped him. Being an orphan in the home of people who are kindly, but at the end of the day, apparently never let him forget that he was not necessarily a member of the family. He tells stories about how his stepfather said that he could never be buried in their family compound because he's not a part of the family. That's something, that's something that's very, very sad. And I personally have experienced that kind of thing. Always feeling like, these people are kind to me, but at the end of the day, I'm not a part of this family. Fellow the boy has learned somewhere along the line. Fellow the boy learned compassion for the downtrodden. Marwa seems to have gone through a similar set of experiences. For the first 7 years of his life, he was raised by his grandfather because his mother apparently was too busy practicing her profession and doing other things, but the resulting personalities are so radically different. Fellow the Boy practices something which borders on being a ministry. I believe, a ministry doesn't have to be a matter of people praying and leading others in worship and everything. A ministry can be, feeding the hungry, helping home the homeless, helping home those who are living in substandard. Anything that shows the mercy and love of God toward a person can be a ministry. I think that what Fellow the Boy is doing is a ministry. He's helping others. He's helping orphans. He's helping widows and everything. Mara, not so much. The only person that Mara is helping is Mara. We look at his Fellow the Boy has built himself a house, and he built a man who he calls his father a house, and I'll say something about that in a minute. The only person who, and then he's built houses for, like, at this point, let me see, Mama Felistis, Mama Fred, Mama Maria, and there are like two others that he has been helping along with Zach Discovery. Fellow the Boy is all about, and then he also donates a lot of things to an orphanage. He's all about helping other people. Marwa is all about helping himself. And the only way that you get Marwa to give anything is when he's put in a position in which it would be shameful for him not to. But the reason why he cut off any contact with Fellow the Boy was resentment at the fact that Fellow the Boy liked helping other people. And he clearly said it in a video. If you are about helping yourself, good, I will work with you. If you're about doing charitable work, you should tell me so that I don't help you. What kind of anger and bitterness does he have toward the people of Nyabohanshed in Magori County that would lead him to have that attitude? Whatever it is, Marwa was fundamentally a malevolent attitude toward those people. Look at how he's conducted that party. He made the villagers who were being loving and supportive, who showered him with presents, he was making them pay $3 and, to come into the party. He was making some of the people who came from the surrounding area work for free in order to stay at his compound, in order to get shout-outs and everything. Marwa has a philosophy of life that's completely and totally selfish. Fellow the Boy has completely the opposite. He has a philosophy that's very selfless. I have to say this about Fellow the Boy. Sir Gottfried, or whoever it is that he's supposed to have built that house for, I kind of scratch my head about this, about that house. My understanding is that in West Africa and in other parts of Africa, it is not uncommon for a person who lives elsewhere to invest a lot of money in building a house that he never comes to. Okay. I don't know, it's like, who is this Sir Godfrey? Has anybody ever seen him? Has anybody ever heard of him actually heard of him in a video or something other than the references made by Fellow the Boy? There's something kind of, I don't understand going, I don't know how to characterize it, but there's something strange about that situation. Anyway, folks, once again, to everybody who's celebrating Hanukkah, this is the next to the last day of Hanukkah. I wish each and every one of you happy Hanukkah. I wish all of my Muslim brothers and sisters happy Juma. I wish all of my Christian brothers and sisters a happy holiday season, and I hope everything goes well for everyone. I'm happy to see that the party is concluded without it being any worse than it could have been. Please like and subscribe, and keep your Grandpa Eli in prayer. May God bless each and every one of you. Kwaheri.